What is going on, guys? Welcome to Pistons Bandwagon, the Pistons channel by the newest generation of Pistons fans for all generations of Pistons fans. My name is Caleb. Thank you for tuning in today. This is my first video. I've been meaning to make Pistons videos for a long time, and I just haven't gotten to it. And now that we're like in playoff contention, I feel like I kind of have to. It's almost too late already. So my first video was going to be called Why I Have Faith in the Detroit Pistons. And at the time that I wrote the script, it was going to be relatively hot take. That is no longer a hot take. So we're switching directions here. And there's a lot that I want to talk about. This season has been very, very exciting. I've only been a Pistons fan since Cade's been drafted. And so this is my first like experience of good basketball. And so I have been having a good time. And there's a lot to get to. A lot that I think hasn't been talked about yet that is pretty exciting and pretty important both for now and the future. But of course, to get started, we have to talk about Cade Cunningham. This is being recorded a few days after the win over the second win over the Knicks at MSG, where Cade dropped 36. And so a lot of people have been talking about Cade's game, breaking down why he's good right now. So I'm not going to get a whole lot into that. But I will get into it a little bit. So Cade has been difficult to evaluate so far throughout his career. The Pistons have not been a good team, and they have not been winning a lot of basketball. And especially for someone of Cade's archetype, like having no spacing, having no really talent around him, has not been helpful. And he has still looked like a pretty good player, but there have been questions of what his ceiling is. You know, he was a super hyped prospect coming into the league, and I think people were disappointed in him. He was inefficient, a lot of turnovers. And I feel like even the people who were very, very high on him and who stayed high on him, their like expected ceiling for him definitely lowered over the last few seasons, myself included. Where like coming into the league, we thought that he could be, a top 10, top 5 player in the league at his peak. And I feel like not that many people think that, even the ones who are super high. Like again, myself included, I was expecting him to be a top 5, top 10 player in the league at his peak before these last couple of seasons, and then I kind of expected him to peak out at like top 20, top 15 as opposed to those things. But recent basketball played by the Pistons changes all of that. He's been really good this season. I think he's been like pretty much at the ceiling that some people projected for him. Even some people who were pretty high on him expected like the numbers and the production that he's been putting up to be what he would be putting up at his best. Like he's at, I think, 9.4 assists per game, third in the league at 24.5 points, like a little under 7 rebounds per game. Like that's really good production, and probably what a lot of people expected him to peak out at. And he's only 23, doing it in his first season of having good talent around him. And a few things that he's been doing really well this season compared to the last few seasons, for why he's been so successful, like his pull-up three-pointers, which honestly, the interesting part of that is that is not something that is necessarily his bad pull-up three-point shooting wasn't necessarily a direct result of lack of spacing. It definitely didn't help, but I think his pull-up three-point shooting improvement this season has just been a direct result of his work, and not necessarily, like, obviously it's helped by the improved talent around him, but I don't think that that's why it's improved. He's just gotten a lot better. His post scoring has been really good. That definitely is helped by the spacing. But he's been a great post scorer this season, especially when he has a smaller defender on him. He's got a little hook. He's just a very interesting player. He's a point guard, but like is great in the post, 6'6", and has these little like hook shots. And he's been really good in those spots. His playmaking has obviously been great. 9.4 assists. His handles have been a lot better this season. We saw that the double in and out dribble against Josh Hart to lead to the transition dunk against the Knicks was pretty fun to watch. His defense has been pretty good. I don't think it's been perfect. Like some of the off ball stuff has been rough, but a lot of his weak side rim protection has been helpful. When he's like an on ball defender, he's pretty good. And I think that it's been a lot better than last season for sure, where like he's neutral at worst this season, and last season he was probably neutral at best. So definitely a better defender, just a better all-around player. And then I think his game management has been really big, where like he is the only offensive creator on this team, and it's not like he's just chucking up a bunch of shots and they're going in, and that's why he's been scoring so much this season. He's been scoring in helpful ways to the team in big spots, and he's been just creating offense when the offense is needed to create. Which I think just as a game manager, he is like not only mature beyond his years and beyond his amount of games played because he's been injured. His second season he was out most of the time. He's especially mature for someone who's only been able to play winning basketball this season. Like I think that's pretty impressive and shows that he's just a very mature player. And I'm excited to see where he goes as a player and as a game manager moving forward. Right now, he's the betting favorite for most improved player. I just found that out today. It's pretty impressive, and it would be awesome to have Cade win most improved. So with all that, I think he's the best point guard in the East right now, at least throughout the season. Like the other good point guards, we have Dame, we have Jalen Brunson, LaMelo Ball, and Tyrese Halliburton. I don't think any other point guards. Darius Garland, I don't think is competitive with those guys. I think he's pretty good, but he's on the Cavs and has a lot of talent around him. So I think Cade is better than those four players I just mentioned. And why I say that is because if you think about Cade trading spots with those players, I think with Brunson and Dame, you could argue that maybe the Pistons would be almost as good, but I don't think the Pistons would be better with any of those players in Cade's place. And I think that the teams that Cade would like, if he traded those spots, I think those teams would be better with him than they are with their current point guard. And I think he's the best point guard in the East, and he has been this season. And what's crazy is he's only 23. And what's even crazier is that he is right now. The Pistons are 1.5 games below the 4 seed, and all the teams that the Pistons are competing with right now for those playoff spots, I think the Pistons have probably the least amount of talent around their best player. And Cade is competing and bringing them to this place, showing just how good he is right now and how much of a jump that he's taken. I think what's most exciting about Cade is that there's still a lot of ways that he can get better, where it's not like he just reached his ceiling early and this is who he is now. I think he can get a lot better. His turnovers have been rough. I think that's just a part of his handles, of course, and I think just maybe more attention to detail for sure. But I think his turnovers will get better. He's going to have a good amount of turnovers because he's a heliocentric guy with the ball in his hands a lot. So I think he's going to have more turnovers than like a center or something like that. But I don't think they're going to be excessive like they are right now. His finishing, I think, is the biggest area. This is not a hot take. If you watch any videos breaking down his game, they talk about his need to improve his finishing. I think he does have good touch. Like his floaters this season have looked really good. His hook shots have looked really good. His touch is apparent. I just think he needs to take more of a Luka Doncic, Jimmy Butler approach, where instead of just jumping straight into defensive rim protectors and just running straight into the basket, he needs to predicate on pump fakes, jump stops, little pivots, just kind of add more complexities to his game. And I think that he will, because Cade is someone who's pretty aware of his issues and not someone who's happy with being an imperfect player. I think he's gonna look at exactly what he's doing wrong and do the work that he needs to address it. And I'm confident that within a couple seasons, I don't think he's going to be like an above average or an elite finisher because he just doesn't have the explosiveness to do that. But I do think he will become a pretty good finisher and will truly become a 3-level scorer, because I think I'll watch videos and people will call him a 3-level scorer, and he is he can get points in the paint, but I think he can become a good 3-level scorer where all 3 levels he is an above average scorer and is absolutely a threat there. And then I think his strength is, he's already very strong, but I think his strength is just going to get even better. He's going to get bigger, stronger, and all aspects of his game are going to improve from that, which is just exciting. And then I think in terms of comparing him with other young players, because we've compared him with players in the East, and I think he's the best point guard. I think the Thinking Basketball podcast is my favorite basketball podcast. They did their 25 under 25 episodes a few weeks ago, and they ranked Cade as the 14th best player under 25, which I think is crazy because he might be the 14th best player in the league right now. So I think that's just going to be a take that doesn't age well, and already hasn't. But when comparing him to the best young players in the league right now, I think other than Wemby, I think you could make the case that Cade is like any player other than Wemby. You can make the case that Cade is better than or will be better than Anthony Edwards. Is really really good, very very explosive, very athletic, and is a pretty skilled scorer. And his 3-point shooting this season has been impressive. But Cade is for sure a better playmaker. Might be a more versatile scorer. He's just crafty, and he's obviously never going to be as athletic as Anthony Edwards, and never going to be as explosive. But he's already producing at a similar amount, and his team is significantly worse than the team that the Timberwolves have put around Anthony Edwards. I feel like those two are pretty similar with where they are at and where they could go. I would say it's a toss up, and just as well as anyone else who is in that realm, like J-Dub, Chet. Those players are very very good, and like those arguments can go anyway for me. But other than Wemby, I feel like Cade has an argument over anybody. And then I kind of want to end this video on a hot take or a prediction. I think Cade will receive some MVP votes this season. You know, earlier in the season, it was whether or not he's going to be an all-star. I feel like pretty quickly there was like the narrative that if he doesn't, there's going to be riots. He should absolutely be an all-star. At this point, he's pretty much an all-star lock. I feel like the conversations are going to be about all NBA right now. And so I want to jump ahead of the gun and make a prediction that he is going to receive some MVP votes this season, especially if the Pistons keep playing and end up in like the 6th or the 5th seed. I think it's hard not to give him a few votes. So yeah, I'm very excited. Shout out Cade for bringing this franchise back, and they've been super super fun to watch this season, and I can't wait to see where they go this season and in the future. There will be more videos about both this season and the future of the Pistons soon. So if you're interested in those, like, subscribe. This is my first video, so quality should be going up. But yeah, I appreciate you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.